Hey, I'm Erin Clifford with the TLC Realty Group, and today I'm talking with Scotty Lovett, who is one of our top preferred lenders that we work with. And you're just awesome, and we appreciate too because you sponsor a lot of our events, and we're very, very grateful for that. So I just wanted to start and ask you a few fun questions.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. I'm ready.
let's do it. Scotty, and I always like to call Scotty Scotty.
It's Scotty.
Scotty. So who are you outside of mortgages? Like, what are you doing when you're not
Yeah,
being a lender?
yeah, great question. So typically I'm watching hockey or anything Texas Tech related, but more importantly, I've got an awesome daughter. She's 10 years old, and so me and my wife stay super busy with her with competitive cheer, traveling, and long weekends, sitting around for, awards for those, yeah, I'm just a good old West Texas boy, grateful for everything I've been given, but, I'm kind of laid back when it comes
Yes.
to, personality, but I think that again ties back to that West Texas personality.
I would
So
agree. You're very laid back, which I think is a wonderful quality and trait to have as a lender because no two files are alike, no
Yep,
two clients are alike. And so it's good to be kind of the calm in the storm of
absolutely.
things, right? So, how did you end up in this business by
Yeah,
accident, or
uh
did you dream like when you were in kindergarten, like, "Oh, I want to be a lender when I grow up"?
I'll be honest with you. So when I was getting out of school, my dad was a chief credit officer of a bank. So I grew up in the banking world as a kid, seeing the finance side of things, and I always said I don't want to do that. That truly was the last thing I thought I would want to do. I knew I loved talking to people, but when I got out of school, this will tell you how old I am. I got out of school in college in 2008, and so the economy had just collapsed, and so I actually had a job lined up with, GameStop corporate, which now I'm kinda grateful maybe I didn't get that, but I was supposed to be an auditor and travel around the United States auditing stores, and so I was really excited, and as soon as I signed my job offer letter, 2 hours later, they called me and said, "We're on a hiring freeze."
Oh,
So I ended up walking around with a resume. This is still back when you could walk into businesses with resumes, and I walked in, and I started just talking to any business that would even listen to me. And I ended up, meeting a guy that worked for Bank of America, and so I ended up moving into, the mortgage side right after they had acquired Countrywide. So, it wasn't intentional, but that was the job I could get, and I had just moved from Lubbock to Dallas, and so I had rent to pay and expenses and things like that, so I just took what I could get, and then progressively, it transitioned into being on the lending side of things, so, yeah,
okay. Well, it
yeah.
sounds like it's all working out
Eh,
for you.
it's it's been the best journey ever, but yeah, not
Let's not
not
talk about how old you are because you graduated from college in 2008.
eh,
There's older people in this room, Scotty. That's me. So, what's one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
Oh, that's a really
One
good
fun question.
yeah, that is a good question. Um, golly, something fun about me.
You want to put a pin in it?
Yeah, let's come back to that one. I wanna think a little bit harder on that before I give you that answer because
Okay.
I got some good ones, so
Okay. Very, very cool. You have any questions?
yeah, I mean, and this can kinda tie in since it's Christmas time, we might as well do this.
Yes.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what do you think, coffee or hot chocolate when you're out showing homes during the month of December?
Because you can't take a Manhattan in the car.
Yeah, right.
Um, coffee,
Coffee?
coffee all day long.
Now are you a black coffee, or do you like to frou-frou it up and put
No,
all the extra
I like a little coffee with my creamer. Like,
Okay,
I'm not a huge Starbucks fan
okay,
actually, but I do like their peppermint mocha
okay,
during
alright, there you
this
go.
time of year, yes.
So,
And I
no
always have water
so
all the time.
so water, coffee, and Manhattans.
Manhattans
We
and
got
cream.
those covered, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Alright, so something else tying into Christmas, where would you say is probably the best place to go look at Christmas lights right now? If you were driving around DFW, is there a certain spot that you would go to wanna see
Highland
lights?
Park is always my
Okay,
favorite. always we grew up driving through and just dreaming. There's so many beautiful homes down there, of course. And Deerfield and Plano
Yep.
is great
Yep.
as well. But Highland Park's always my top choice.
Highland Park.
Yeah.
Have you seen the house that, every year has gotten, like, progressively more and more like
Yes.
Griswold, where it was purple
Yes.
one year with the unicorns, and then, we tried to go drive by, and the police had it blocked off. People were parking blocks away, and so we didn't even try to go see it this year.
How would you I don't know how I would feel if I was a neighbor and had
Oh,
all that. I probably would not be super, super happy. I think the theme this year was Grinch,
I
maybe?
I think it was from the videos I've
Right.
seen, but yeah, Steph and I, when we were driving through, I was like, "If I lived in this neighborhood and the cops had my road
Mhm.
blocked off," I mean, it took me, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes just to get down one side of the street to try to turn to their block, and
Yeah.
I'm just going, "Well, what if I lived on that street? Now I'm having to deal with that." Oh, I'd be
I
frustrated.
wanna know what that guy does. What do you do?
I
What
don't
do you do for a living that you're drawing all this attention
I
to
j
yourself,
I just
right?
picture him being like Clark Griswold out there just
Aw.
so, you
Have you
know.
watched Christmas Vacation yet?
That is something that we save till about 2 to 3 days before Christmas, because I am Clark Griswold through and through, so
Oh,
that
of
is
course you are.
one of our favorite movies.
Of course you are.
So that was gonna be one of my next questions is, what is your 1 or 2, because it's tough to pick a favorite,
Mhm.
because you're gonna have sometimes a little more kiddie, sometimes a little more adult,
Mhm.
Christmas movies, but what are, like, 2 or 3 go-to movies you've gotta watch during Christmas time?
Easy. It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
We watch it on Christmas Eve, and I cry my eyes out every year that I watch that. I think that's such an amazing story. Um, Trading Places, people will argue that that's not a Christmas movie, but
Okay.
that's a Christmas movie. And Eddie Murphy is amazing.
Yep.
Obviously, that's a classic. Um, and the other one that I watch every year too, without my husband, is The Holiday with Cameron Diaz.
Oh my gosh, with Jack Black, right?
Jack Black's in
Yeah.
there and Jude Law, and, yeah, that's a good one.
I have not seen that in forever, but I do remember,
It's
I've
cute. It's more of a chick flick,
yep,
but it's good.
yep.
Yeah.
There's a good one that you should add in. It's, called Surviving Christmas. It's with, oh man, who was Matt Damon's counterpart always?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. So he is this rich entrepreneur, has all the money in the world, but has no family, and so he comes back to the house that he used to he grew up in, and he basically rents the family out for Christmas, and everything goes wrong, and it's a very good movie,
Okay.
but not don't watch it with kids.
Is it on Netflix
I
or Hulu?
I think it's on one of those because 'cause we've watched it every year, but
Surviving Christmas.
Surviving Christmas is
I'm
a
gonna
good
have
one.
to I'm gonna have to look that one up
It
for
is a
sure.
good one,
For
so
sure, for sure. So, okay, I'm gonna bounce back and ask
'kay.
you some questions. This is geared towards first-time home buyers.
'Kay.
Do you work with a lot of first-time home buyers?
Yeah, so what I enjoy about first-time home buyers compared to maybe existing buyers is
Mhm.
first-time home buyers, they're just they don't know what they don't
They're
know.
so excited
They are
too.
so excited, and so, working with a first-time home buyer, you get to sit down and see, like, that journey of progression where they're
Mhm.
like, "I don't even know what questions I need to ask you," to then they feel like they're starting to get their feet, and they start kind of taking baby steps, so then they're talking to their friends and family, and then they start asking more and more, but then when you get to the very end and you're at the closing table, they're truly you get to see them kinda start that journey of, "Hey, I'm buying this first time house," to, "Now I'm gonna have my friends come over," to, "Maybe now I'm gonna have kids in it," and
Yeah.
so it's a ton of fun, and usually those clients want to keep you in their life, like,
Yeah.
they keep you engaged with, "Hey, I really appreciate the Christmas card, and I love to see your family, but hey, guess what? We're having a kid," or, "Hey, guess what? We just had this huge party at our house. Love to have you come over and come to this barbecue 4th of July cookout," whatever it might be, so, um first-time homebuyers, it is a lot of fun. You just have to commit to the time that's required to do the first-time homebuyer because there is a lot of hand-holding, but as long as the client wants to be involved with
Yeah.
you where it's, "Hey, I understand that sometimes it's gonna be the weekends and nights where you have to have these conversations." It turns out to be a good experience, but you just have to be willing to commit to that time that they need so that by the time you get to the closing table, they don't feel like something got amiss or
Yeah,
they're frustrated.
it's a huge opportunity to educate, I mean, I feel like you're like, when I'm working with first-time home buyers, I almost take on a parental
Mhm.
role a little bit
Yep,
because I'm like, "Here, come here, get under my wing and let me protect you from, the ugly, world out there." So,
absolutely.
they're so fun. Well, what do you think is the biggest myth that first-time home buyers believe about mortgages?
So I was actually talking with my dad about this the other day, and first time home buyers, a lot of the times, the biggest purchase that they've ever had before buying a house is a vehicle. Like
Right.
that's all they can envision is, well, buying a house kind of has to be like this because that's the biggest purchase I've ever
That's
done.
so true.
So,
Yeah.
so then when you're talking to them in their mind, they go, well, there shouldn't be a lot of documents because right now you can go get a car and you're just like, oh, well, here's some stated income. Hey, maybe they do want a pay stub. Hey, here's my social. And then they're like, and then I'm approved. And then I walk out of the
Yeah.
dealership with this car. So in their mind, they think that it's going to be a little more complicated, but it's very much in line with, hey, I'm just going to get some documents to them and then I'm pre-approved and that's it. So, when you're coming to buying that house compared to a car, it's just the fact that they have to understand that there's more that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just do you make enough income to support it, but is it able to be qualified in that it meets all these government guidelines to streamline the lending process so it's equal across the board for everybody that's trying to buy a house. So, but that's usually the thing that I kinda equate it to is buying a car and buying a house is their kind of mindset.
Yeah, and usually I feel like, when I was younger, I was just trying to get a car payment, that was within range. And do you see a lot of the first time home buyers saying, "Listen, this is what I can afford on a monthly basis. Back it up. What does this look like?" Total dollar amount.
Mm.
Like, can I do 350? Can I do 400?
Yeah, so that is probably kinda goes back to the, like, holding hands part that I was
Right.
talking about is before they ever actually get out and start looking at a house with you, really, that's where I have to do a lot of digging in, is getting them expectations set on what taxes are gonna look like. What is homeowners insurance? Because in their mind, they're not accounting for that sometimes. They're just
Right.
going, "Well, what is my mortgage payment gonna be from a lending side?" So then we've gotta make sure that we set the proper expectations of, okay, if you go out and start looking at this price point, the taxes and insurance aren't gonna blow up the deal. And I say this to a lot of people, and it's a real thing. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you wanna sleep with that payment for, the next
Mhm.
5, 10 years just because that's when people start talking about, "Well, I don't wanna be house poor." They start getting anxiety about not being able to do what they wanna do now, which is still people wanna travel, still wanna go and
Yes.
do, their things with their friends, going out to dinner, and the last thing they wanna do is make their payment eat up all the fun stuff that they still envision they'll get to do.
And that's what I appreciate about the younger generation is that you guys experience, I mean, you value
Yep.
experiences, right? And so where I feel like, I'm a Gen Xer, and so it was like, here's the tradition: you graduate from high school, you go to college, you graduate from college, you get a job. And it's like you go into the office every day and you do the things. And man, this younger generation, behind us is a little bit more chill,
Yep. Yep.
chillax, and they're like, "No, I need my personal time,"
Yep.
which is good. And sometimes,
Well, so, where it comes to is like where you're talking about with that younger generation, they typically have already started doing some research before they even get
yeah,
engaged with either one of us in the process.
true.
And while that can be good, I also still say it's kind of like going on WebMD. All of a sudden, when you start looking up all
Yes.
these things, everything leads to you having some sickness that you're not going to make it from. And so it's kind of the same way in the lending world. They have enough knowledge to know the questions they need to ask, but sometimes they end up going down the wrong trail and they
Right.
think they know what they know. And then I'm having to kind of pull it all back in. So, but it's the same thing on the agent side of things. Clients don't know how much location is important.
Right.
Just because the house hits all the check boxes you could end up having them wanting you to take them to a property that doesn't have necessarily maybe the best school districts or things like
Right.
that they're not accounting for because when they're buying this house, they don't have kids, you know?
Exactly.
And so when
Exactly.
you're getting to know them during that process, you're probably asking them, "Hey, well, tell me more about yourself. Tell me what your goals are." And then all of a sudden you start going, "Oh, well, I need to maybe take them to this neighborhood because this is going to align with what they're wanting to do because this is going to have that younger professional." Or, "Hey, this neighborhood's got a ton of kids," you know? And so I think, I'd love to hear from you kind of when you're working with your clients, how you decide, hey, these are kind of their important check
Right.
marks,
Right. Right.
or things
Right.
they're looking for.
Yeah, and let me throw this out there too. I think when we talk about first time home buyers,
Mhm.
immediately some of us think, oh, they're people in their 20s.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Like I've, worked with some amazing clients and they were in their late 30s and there was their first time purchasing. So it really is just trying to uncover, what are your right now goals?
Yep.
Like, what do you want your life to look like? When you come home from work and you're just, trying to relax, what do you want to see around you?
Mm.
What do you want to experience? Or restaurants or close proximity to things important? Or do you want to be in some place that's rural? I mean, it is. It's about asking as many questions as possible so I can, customize what that search looks like. And if they don't have kids, I do ask, is school district important to you? Because that will determine also maybe where we might look.
Yep.
I can't ever steer anybody someplace, right? But I can certainly give them the resources and tools so they can go and do the research themselves
Yep.
if I make suggestions and then ultimately, we end up somewhere.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I was reading a thing that was talking about first-time homebuyer age has continually gotten further and
Yeah.
further along into people's careers versus it used to be, like you talked about, where it was you got out of college, then the next progression was buy a house. Now it's, "Hey, maybe I'm gonna rent for the next 5, 6 years while I
Right.
get further along in my career, and then now that I've got a larger down payment or I'm making more income, now I can go potentially buy that bigger house or, whatever it might be." So,
Speaking of renting, the only time I recommend renting is I think, some people may disagree with me, but if you're moving to a brand new city, brand new area, you know nothing about anything,
mhm,
I highly recommend it's like go and rent for a year and go experience things, check everything out. Like don't necessarily lock yourself into purchasing a property right away.
yep.
So that's the only time I really support
Gotta get your
those.
feet wet and figure out where you wanna be.
You do. How old were you when you bought your first house?
So I bought my first house, so I did the, progression like we talked about. So I bought my first house in 2009, so I was a year out of
Okay.
college, so but that was kind of how it always been told to me is, "Hey, you go to school, you buy a house," and so that was it, So luckily I had family that told me about making sure to start saving. So like even when I was in college, I was putting money away into a savings account for down payments and things like that back when I was working at tech. So, uh,
So responsible.
luckily I had people that told me what to do because if not, I would have probably burned through it and
Yeah.
spent it going to the bars.
Had a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Not that I didn't,
Uh,
but
what what do you think matters more than just the interest rate?
Um, I mean, interest rate's so important right now, but also the other thing that we're gonna start seeing is, and this is, it's gonna be a challenge as these rates keep coming down. We're not ever gonna get back to, and I shouldn't say we're never gonna get back to it. I mean, I can't control what the market
Yeah.
is, but I don't see us getting back to these COVID rates.
These twos.
Yeah, twos and
Mhm.
threes. But there is a tipping point where interest rates are going to get to a spot where now all these people that bought houses or refinanced during COVID are going to go, the rates are low enough. I can get out of my house now
Right.
because it's not a big enough pain point anymore that they're leaving that 3% interest rate. So then you're going to have people that are now ready to get back into the market. And then we've got a lot of people that still are sitting on the sidelines going, "Hey, I'm waiting for the interest rates to come down a little bit further." And the challenge will be now you're gonna have 2 different groups converging at the same time, and we're gonna end up in a market that's very similar to what it was, where it's multiple offers and
Right.
competitive market, and then on the listing side, it's gonna be great for agents because 'cause you're gonna be excited to have listings, but on the buyer side, it's gonna be that battle over and over and over where I don't think it's gonna be as many offers because, I mean, I know there was a period of time. I mean, what was probably the most you saw on an offer on a listing? How many
For
offers?
40,
Yeah.
40-ish.
So
Mhm.
I don't think we'll get back to 40s, but I mean, maybe we will. But I mean, I could see it back to 3 to 6 offers on one particular property, and we were having appraisal waivers and, foregoing
It was
option periods and
which
everything
is
else.
so dangerous. I mean, so
Uh,
dangerous when you forgo the option period. I can only imagine how many lawsuits
Well, it
have
it was scary for me on the financing side because it was, well, we're gonna offer 0 days financing, and, the client was a marginal buyer at best, so you're stressing out going, "Hey, I hope I didn't miss something," because of course, a client you might talk to them, and in 30 minutes, they need a pre-approval letter, and their file was super complicated. They were self-employed, whatever it might be. So you had to be willing to work very quickly and super efficiently as best you could to be able to get those pre-approval letters out. So, where I was going to go with this though is I think there is going to be a point where clients need to realize, hey, if the house is out there that they love, they might not love this interest rate that they're in. And again, I know we've probably beat a dead horse about date the rate and all these things, but if you don't get into the market now when
agree.
you can still negotiate things where you've got more power, where you can ask the seller to help cover closing costs or help, uh, you know, offset the sales price by reducing it or whatever it might be, you're going to look up and then it's going to be, well, the rates have only come down 1/4% from where they're at, or
Right.
0.375, and now it's back to multiple offers and
Well,
they're gonna.
everybody that's been sitting on the sidelines is going to jump in. And, we've had a lot of buyers actually go under contract. We're sitting, what are we, 2 weeks out, a week out from Christmas? I
Yep,
don't know.
yep,
I mean, this is the busiest December personally I've ever had. And it is. It's like get out there
yep.
before somebody else does and see what you can do. And we're seeing homes that have been on the market for 60 days and then all of a sudden there's multiple offers. So, yes, it's going to be an interesting spring.
Yeah, so I am looking forward to this market that's coming up. It
Mhm.
just, again, it's the educational side of educating clients on both the listing side, preparing them for expectations, as well as on the buyers, and whether
Right.
that's first time buyers or existing buyers that have bought before. So,
Explain to me, what is the difference between, because I know when we're asking you for letters for
mhm.
our clients, what's the difference between, or is there between pre-qualified and
Yeah.
pre-approved?
Yeah, the great question. Because we see that all the time where people will get what they call a pre-approval
Right.
from some online lender, and then all of a sudden you'll refer them to me going, "Hey, they said they were pre-approved, whatever it might be, but I want them to talk to you." And then we get them on the phone. We have the initial conversation, and maybe that lasts 15 to 30 minutes, and I'm asking them questions about who they are, where they work, and then at the very end, then I say, "Okay, I'm gonna send you the loan application. Here's kind of an expectation of what documents are gonna be requested at the end." They go, "Oh, well, I didn't provide any of those." And you're going, "But and you don't ever call them out, but they go, "Well, I've already got a pre-approval from whoever it is." You're going, "Well, they really don't have a pre-approval letter." But the problem is you don't know from an agent side. You've got this letter that says they're pre-approved, but in
Right.
reality, it's a pre-qualification letter. So a pre-qualification letter is truly, I state to you what my income is, what my assets are, and what my credit score is, and you go, "Hey, that sounds good. I bet you could buy a house." And then here's a letter. Versus a pre-approval means I ask you for your income documents, I ask you for your assets, I pull credit, and then I run it through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, their automated system to get a true, "Hey, approve eligible, thumbs up, you're good to buy a house." Now, that doesn't mean that they've been fully underwritten.
Right.
We still have to get verifications of employment from their employers. We still need to be able to run the file through our underwriters. But the difference, though, is when you are saying pre-approved, that means that there's a good certainty, unless you go and quit your job or go and open up a bunch of new debt that you
Mhm.
didn't originally have, you should be able to qualify and get into the house. Now, where it starts differing for lenders is understanding how to underwrite the more complex files when people are commission based, or there's a lot of bonus, or there's self-employment, or they've got multiple rental properties. That's where lenders really can set themselves apart, is because they understand how to ask the more difficult questions, and they're not willing to just take it at face value from a client's perspective. Because as you know, when you're self-employed, you can write off as much as you want
I
and
know.
make your taxes look however you want, as long as it's within the guidelines. And in their mind, a lot of business and personal expenses start kind of converging.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, they think they've got more income than what they report on the tax return. And so that is where, when I'm helping those clients out, spending more time making sure that when I say they're pre-approved, that we've truly verified every document. So,
Okay.
great question.
So, in layman's terms, explain what it means for your file for underwriters,
Mhm.
just like short and sweet.
So, underwriter, like to the point when we submitted in for
Yeah.
underwriting?
So, what does underwriting mean?
Yeah. So, underwriting means that we have verified the employment through an actual employer saying this is what their income is. It means that we've truly documented everything from their earnest money to option money to every dollar that they need for buying that house. And then we run behind the scenes reports, and they sound worse than they are, but like one of them's called a fraud report. And it's basically just to ensure that you don't own any other properties that you didn't disclose to us, to foreclosures or short sales that maybe
Right.
happened in the past that don't show up on a credit report, to then also getting an insurance quote so that we know truly the insurance policy that we're qualifying you off of is sufficient to cover you, but more importantly, that your debt to income doesn't become too high because of that quote. When we submit the file into underwriting, at that point, that is when they have a complete package to be able to say this person truly is satisfying Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA's guidelines.
And that's a whole other part too.
Yeah.
Podcast about Fannie, Freddie, FHA,
Oh, yeah.
all of all the people. Um, Another question I had is what's the minimum down payment that somebody needs to have prepared? And oh, there was a second part to that question. But like what's when somebody says, how much do I need to have down?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's all different types of loan
Right.
programs that are out there. I mean, there are FHA, 3.5% down. And then conventional, there is a first time home buyer program. And first time home buyer, by definition, is not because you've never owned a house. First time home buyer just means you haven't owned a house in the last 3 years.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, there is a 3% down program as well for conventional. So those are really the starting out points
Okay.
on FHA and conventional. And then, of course, VA does allow for their veterans, as a benefit of them serving our country, they can do as little as 0% down.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are USDA programs that are out there that are similar with 0% down. But the average buyer, you're typically expected to have 3% for first time home buyer, 5% if you're not qualifying as first time home buyer, and then 3.5% for FHA.
Okay. Minimum credit score for somebody that wants to do a 3.5% down.
Yep. So what we do as a company, we will go down to a 620 credit score. Between 620 and 640, that is what we call our credit committee.
Okay.
That is to ensure that truly when we get you to underwriting, that we will not run into any problems getting you qualified. Because unfortunately, sometimes when we're dealing with a lower credit score, there could be something that could come up during the loan process. So we don't want to let them get under contract and then all of a sudden the deal goes sideways. So if I get a client from you and I pull their credit and they're 620, what we're going to do is what we call our peer approval, where we act as if they are truly under contract without being under contract on a house. And we take them through the whole underwriting process so that then when they go out to start looking, with you, we're able to say, hey, you truly will qualify. And the only thing that would be preventing you from getting into this house would be something on the title side or that the property doesn't appraise for whatever it's under contract for.
And then don't go buy anything and
Yeah.
open another credit line.
Exactly. Exactly.
I had somebody buy a refrigerator and, open the credit to do it, like, a week before closing, and I mean, we closed on the house, but it caused a few little it was a little bit of a kerfuffle.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. We see it happen all the time because it somehow never fails when people are buying houses. It's during 4th of July sales or Black Friday sales or
Yeah.
Memorial Day sales, whatever it might be. So, yeah.
Yes. Just keep your stuff in line. Oh, there's some other stuff that I had. Do you have a hard deal this year? Any hard deals?
I would say a lot of deals have been more
Tough.
complicated this year than in years past. And I think the challenge is when it comes to these tougher deals is not because the client intentionally didn't disclose things, but all of a sudden they change jobs right before closing and they're going, well, I'm getting an increase in my salary. Well, that's great and all. We approved you based off of this
Right,
job. So I truly had a client on closing day. We went to order verification of employment to because we're required to within a couple of days before closing
mhm.
to make sure that they're still employed. And it comes back saying terminated or no longer an employee. So I call the client, and I'm going, "Hey, we're supposed to be closing here in like 12 hours, and it's saying you're not employed." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I quit that job and I took a new job, but I'm getting 20,000 more dollars in my
What did
salary."
you do?
Well, so luckily, because since our underwriters are in house, I was able to pick up the phone and call my underwriter that evening and say, "Hey, we've got a big problem." And she was like, "Hey, first thing tomorrow morning when I get in the office, get the new verification of employment from the new employer, get
Mhm.
the offer letter from the client." And we still closed on time.
Wow.
But you wanna talk about stressing out. I mean, because that the last thing you wanna be doing is
Are you
calling.
really in the real estate industry if you're not stressing out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I got all this gray hair.
Oh,
So,
well,
it's
yeah. It'll do it to you
yeah.
for sure, for sure. So, well, I'm trying to think of what else we can chat about. I know I've taken up so much of your time
I I
already.
I would love to ask you about just, what kinda sets your
Hmm.
team apart and, all the awesome members of your team, if you could just kinda talk very high level about your group.
Our culture 100% sets our team apart. We're a very collaborative group. We consider them, Heather and I, we own the company, but it's their company too. They have a say in, things that we do because they're bringing their clients into our platform and plugging in. But it's an awesome group that we have. And I mean, I just attribute it to culture. And people are always very surprised that we're a group, we're all women. Um, and there's no drama whatsoever. So no drama at all. So everybody has their, gifts and their, 1% that they bring to the group that makes it extra special. So I don't know though. They're all pretty great.
I was gonna say from an outsider looking in, the thing that I notice is that and you said it, is everybody wants to help each other out. And, people are willing to help the other person on the team, which that's not always the case across the board. It's cutthroat sometimes in sales jobs. So the
Yeah.
fact that I know other girls on the team can pick up the phone and call you and you drop everything to go help them. I think that that is something that does set y'all apart is that
Yeah, 100%. We're, my biggest passion, I always say it is I love nothing more than to pull the potential out of agents and help them grow big businesses like beyond anything that they could have imagined. And this year, I don't know that I've ever seen a group work as hard as we have this year because it has not been easy at all keeping deals together. It's a tough time for some of our sellers, but everybody has just had their foot on the gas the entire year. So we're happy that, Christmas is coming up and hopefully everybody can have a bit of a breather, but they're so excited to come back and start crushing 2026.
scary to say 2026.
I know.
Yeah. Uh,
Ugh.
but I will say, I think this next year is going to be a good year.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think it's shaping up to be a very good year. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking me to come on here, and I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to talk about.
I've been meaning to do this for quite a while. So, Scotty Lovett, everyone,
Yeah.
amazing human being in Wreckham, Texas Tech. That's where my daughter's going. Yay. And thank you so much for bringing all the swag. She loved that.
Absolutely.
That was cool.
Absolutely.
That was very
We
cool.
bleed red and black at our house. So
Well, I'm excited about doing some tailgating with y'all
absolutely.
next year. And
Absolutely.
but anyway, thank you. High five
Hey, you
for
got it.
being awesome.